something I liked about Flux was that they didn't shy away from the Timeless Child twist. They
I thought they would. I really thought they would.
Yeah, like, because, like, going by Doctor Who's track record, for example, Stephen Moffat, he had a tendency of doing a bold new move, the fans don't like it, and then he walks it back. Like,
Paradigm
for example, the new
Daleks.
Dalek paradigm.
Yeah.
And now, I think the biggest crime is I just wish we'd seen that play out now. Like, because it would have been better for the narrative. So I appreciate that Chris Chibnall was serving the narrative they had set up with Doctor Who Flux. Immediately, that's one piss point for Chris Chibnall.
I completely agree. And to this day, I'm still upset about the Paradigm Daleks, especially after their slight redesign in Asylum of the Daleks, because
They definitely
they
improved
looked
them,
so
yeah.
good. They looked so
Yeah.
good in that story.
Absolutely.
So, should we dive into episode 1?
The Halloween Apocalypse.
The Halloween Apocalypse. So, the first scene, we have the Doctor and Yaz on broomsticks, basically. Just
It's
kind of...
very, very green as well.
It's very, very green. It's very...
I wonder why that is.
It's... But, yeah, and they are... You know, when I first watched it, I didn't realise that it was... how do you say this name?
Carvanista.
Yeah, Carvanista, yeah.
Yeah, I've been referring to him as Krasinski in a bunch of my videos on it, so, like, it's okay to forget his name.
Krasinski. Or we can just, dog person.
Dog.
Just pup. Yeah.
Channel Pup.
Channel Pup, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so Channel Pup is
okay,
kind of
yeah. All right, we're gonna refer
with
to
them.
him as Channel Pup from this point forward. But yeah, so I was a bit concerned, like straight from the get go, because I didn't really like the opening scene. I just found it a bit too much, a bit too, like, just with the whole Doctor screaming, release, release, and I don't know, it wasn't really, it wasn't for me personally, but then pretty much after that, it gets better. I think after that opening scene, like, you've got a brief introduction to Joseph Williamson in Liverpool, 1806. And then after the opening credits, we are introduced to Dan. What do you think about Dan?
Dan is, it's basically a John Bishop everyman archetype. And once again, the working class dialogue from Chris Chibnall needs much to be desired.
It
but,
does,
like,
yeah.
I like John Bishop's performance.
It's very... I love that Chibnall's just really not subtle when it comes to characters. It's like, look at this guy. So, he's a nice guy. He talks to people about Liverpool, and he doesn't take the soup from the food bank because he's such a good guy.
He unofficially works for the museum on his own volition. It's like, no one f***ing does that. And if he did that, he would get escorted out of there immediately. Like,
yeah.
Chris Chibnall, the mental gymnastics it takes to get that as your character introduction and then the whole bit where it's like, no one likes soup. Does anyone like soup? It's like, please stop writing for working class characters if you cannot write them, because no one talks like this. I've never heard anyone say no one likes soup. Like, we
love soup, man.
We got these two characters talking about soup as a fucking character thing. It's like, oh, how do we establish that these are two normal?
How do we
people?
make two relatable people?
They will have debate about soup. Like,
yes, people will love that.
The consistency of the soup is ripe. Like, no, it's fucking shit. It's terrible.
Good soup.
So I will say this: Dan left more of an impression than poor Ryan did. Ryan had nothing to work with.
Oh, dude, Ryan...
Tosin Cole is a good actor, and he had people to work with.
He is, but Ryan was just the worst. I'm sorry, he was...
I didn't dislike Ryan. I didn't find there was anything there to dislike about him. Like,
I mean, that's kind of why I sort of feel this way, because I'm like, Ryan was just such a nothing character.
I mean, you can sum up Ryan's entire character by just saying, he's kind of a sweet dude, isn't he? Like, that's just all there is to it. Like,
but, like, I just love how all the things that Chibnall tried to set up for Ryan, like his dyspraxia and, the life at home with his friends and stuff, it all just went nowhere.
Remember in Revolution of the Daleks as well, where they had him hallucinate his dead gran? Like, why was that necessary? Like, just... they're trying to have this beautiful ending, and it's just like, why? It's so emotional. But okay, so I remember my initial reaction after seeing the Halloween apocalypse. My initial reaction was, "What the f just happened?" Like, I'm a Doctor Who fan. I followed the Chris Chibnall era, so I say that I barely watched Series 11, but like, I've followed the story of the Chris Chibnall era, and I was absolutely lost with the Halloween apocalypse. So I have no idea what that must have been like for new viewers. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I will say, it is a bit like, have you watched Game of Thrones?
yes.
Yeah, and
Well,
so,
not all of it. I've watched the first 4 seasons.
But yeah, like the first season, I remember first watching that and just being so lost, and just,
Especially
there's so
in that
many
first
characters,
episode.
there's
Yeah.
so much world building and introductions to storylines. But when you go back to rewatch Series 1, when you know Game of Thrones, you know the characters, the locations, everything, it's like watching a new show. And I enjoyed Series 1 of Game of Thrones so much more, having rewatched it with the context of what came later. And it was a bit like that with this episode. But when I went back to rewatch it, I appreciated it. It felt a lot less messy, basically.
Well, I'll say this, now that all is said and done, revisiting it, my question is, why was Tunnel Guy treated as a mystery character? Why did he even need to be a mystery character in the first place?
I found it really funny how, at the end of the episode, it shows you shots of all the characters you've been
Yeah, and he's
introduced
just
to.
standing there looking at nothing.
You just see this fucking rando.
Yeah, like, and then there's like, okay, like, the scene in the Arctic Circle where the woman beats up a disc. What was that all about? Like,
that went absolutely nowhere. Also, I'm maybe you know the answer to this. So, the woman in the Arctic Circle, she ended up being Swarm's sister, but did she?
Right, yeah, she did, didn't she?
Was she aware, or was she in like a bit of a
But why did they need all that? Could they not have just introduced her with Swarm?
That's the thing, because she seems genuinely surprised and scared when Swarm shows up, but then after a few seconds, she kind of snaps out of it, and she's like, why did I feel good about that? And then obviously she turns into...
They don't answer that. There is no answer as to why she doesn't seem to know. Maybe she's occupying this woman or something. I got no idea. But
I got nothing. It's never explored again, so it's just...
I honestly forgot that Azure was the Arctic Circle lady. I thought the Arctic Circle stuff was just completely...
out
of nowhere. Yeah, like, I didn't... I still don't entirely get why that was... It's such a weird character introduction, I swear.
It is a weird character introduction.
But yeah, no, like, I'm gonna say this, there's a lot in that episode that still remains kind of... Well, the question is, why was this even a mystery? I think the thing that's aged the worst about it, though, is what the actual Flux event is.
Oh my god.
They describe it as this force that can disrupt every piece of matter, every particle that it comes into contact with. So, here's my fucking question. How's a bunch of spaceships meant to shield the Earth from that? Surely it will disrupt the spaceships and then just break through to Earth. Like, it's not fire. It disrupts all matter. Like, that's like saying, oh, a nuclear bomb went off, better get my umbrella out. Like, no, that's not how it works, you bitch.
Yeah.
And I love how the Flux changed throughout the course of the series. Like, in episode 1, it's like, oh, the Flux, it disrupts all matter. Then in episode 2, it's like, oh, well, actually, we're okay. And in episode 3, it's basically, oh, well, it didn't destroy all the planets. In some of them, it just fucked up some buildings. Well, it's like, it gradually is like, okay, so what is the Flux then?
We
is it that
saw
bad?
shots in episode 1 of the Flux, like, imploding planets, as in nothing left. So how were some places just kind of partially destroyed? Like,
and the Doctor's like, oh,
be gone?
It's the end of the universe. I always wondered what this would feel like. And then it's like, it's not the end of the universe, though. The universe continues. It's just a bit fucked up.
That's kind of an overall thing that bothers me about this series. I feel like the Doctor never reacts appropriately to what a massive catastrophic event this is. Like, so much of the universe is dead. And getting ahead of myself here, it's not restored at the end of the show. Like, so much of the universe is just gone now because the
We'll
Flux...
get there. We will get there. Yeah, no, that is... There's a lot to say there as well. Like,
yeah, it's... But anyway, so shortly afterwards, the Doctor has her vision of Swarm for the first time, and
yes.
I just want to use this time to say that I've really liked Swarm.
Same. Absolutely same.
I looked up the actor. His name is Sam Spruill. I hope I'm saying that right. And
he did great. Like, he was a spooky villain. I liked his design a lot. I liked that he was kind of a little bit campy as well. Like,
he was, honestly, I feel like Swarm is what Tim Shaw should have been in Series 11. Just so much charisma, so much sass, an awesome design, and just, I think it was just a combination of good writing and good acting. Honestly, there was no low points when it came to Swarm. I enjoyed him every time he was on screen.
Have an evil villain as well, just someone who's like your typical sort of moustache twirly sort of Saturday morning villain. It was nice to have that. It was refreshing. My issue is, once again, unnecessary mysteries, unnecessary character introductions. So, fast forwarding ahead a little bit, Swarm, like, just end up being just Swarm. Swarm is Swarm. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
but like
right.
they show him regenerating at the start, and you're like, oh, could he maybe be related to the Doctor? Maybe that's the Doctor's true species or something.
They do.
But no, it's just that's all he is. Why even show him as another form then? It's just another thing thrown into the mix.
Exactly. And adding on to that, or adding on to the point you just made, at the end, Swarm is straight up teasing the Doctor that they know each other. At one point, Swarm says that his name is just a translation, which makes you wonder, could Swarm actually be...
Yeah, he's all like, oh yeah, we've danced across the universe and stuff. It's like, so who is he then?
Maybe I interpreted it wrong, but it does feel to me like they knew what they were doing. You know, they wanted to get people to wonder, well, who is this guy? And not in the sense of just, you know, who is he as a character? Like, who is he that the Doctor has known before? Like, I'm completely okay. In fact, I am fully in favour of Swarm being a completely new, original idea. But the fact that they were teasing us early on that he may be a returning one, I feel like it kind of took away from my enjoyment of him a bit, because rather than appreciating him as a character, I was just wondering, well, who could he be? We've already got the Master back and, you know, other characters.
I don't need them to tie him into greater Doctor Who lore, but who is he? Like, what is this? Can you actually define what this is? Why is he here? What's his importance? Like, what? Like, now that all is said and done, what is the importance of Swarm and Azure?
Not much.
I'm just shrugging. I don't know. Like, who are they?
That's the thing. They were cool and they were fun to watch, but at the end of the day, and this is an issue that I have with just a lot of Chibnall's era, there's just not much substance to it.
It's an intriguing mystery with no answer.
Are. Exactly. It's all intrigue.
That's what I meant when I said it's like a hook thing. Like, this season relies on the whole serialized format and ending on a cliffhanger for its fucking dear life. It hangs on to that for dear life, because if you take that out, there's nothing here.
It just feels like a lot of clickbait, honestly.
Nothing is properly defined. Like, Swarm and Azure are not defined. Like, the Flux changes what it is, like the fucking weather. Yeah. 1 minute it's the matter-disrupting force of nature that's going to kill the universe. The next, it's just a pretty stinky fart. Like, what is it?
Yeah, and also, Timeless Child. Again, even though it was introduced again, we basically didn't really learn anything else. Really, I mean...
Shall we... Yeah, because I've got a lot to say on this. Shall we move on to War of the Sontarans before I start getting fucking ragey about the Timeless Child handlement in this?
We probably should. Let me check if there's any other bits I just wanted to... one quick thing. This episode also introduced Claire. Only briefly, but obviously Claire is quickly... abducted by the angels at the end of this.
Remember that, yeah.
What did you think of that scene with the angel?
It was another element that was really too much for this episode, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, the thing with this episode is, like, the number one thing is, it's a 50-minute long episode, I think, and at the 40-minute mark, they're still introducing characters.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
too much. That is too much. Like, I know Game of Thrones does a similar thing, but Doctor Who is supposed to be a bit more easygoing than that, I think. And,
Exactly.
I'm okay with
yeah.
them doing a big grand scale adventure and stuff, but like, we saw Claire appear. I was like, who are you? Like, who's this?
Like, here's the thing. I like the idea of it. I like the idea of lots of characters being introduced and kind of lots of stories going on throughout the series. But the thing is, I feel like there was just too much. Like, 6 episodes isn't actually that long. And I feel like whilst Chibnall could have gotten away with introducing a couple of characters, you know, you've got Dan, new companion. You've got you've got his love interest. I've forgotten her name. You've got Claire. You've got
Di.
Di. That's it. Yeah. You've got Claire. You've got Joseph Williamson. You've got the new villains. You've got Vinda. We've not even talked about Vinda yet. And
Right, Vinda. Yes. Vinda is another one where it's like he started off with some good potential, and they seem to have a mystery as to where that's going, but ultimately it went nowhere.
It did go nowhere, and yeah, I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but that kind of also goes for Belle as well.
It's hard not to get ahead of yourself with this season because it's not really done in order. It's a very non-linear narrative.
I mean that is a good point. We are essentially talking about a 4-hour Doctor Who film right now. And
it's really difficult to talk about it on an episode-by-episode basis when so many of these episodes rely on context that you'll get later on.
Exactly. A few more things. Carvinister, I really liked. I was worried because I was getting slight Orphan 55 flashbacks, but he ended up being, I think, very likable. I liked his chemistry with Dan. And yeah, he was just kind of a fun character to have in the show, I think. But last thing, because I think this is pretty significant, the Sontarans are introduced in this episode, and immediately my impressions are quite good. I generally like the redesign. I do feel the armor is a bit of a step back in some aspects, but I like the color scheme. And
the armor is definitely more primitive, but I think it looks better. But I think they needed an in-universe explanation as to why. Because, like, the blue ones were quite modern looking.
They were very modern and very slick, yeah. And
these are quite barbaric by comparison. And I think it's a better look, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult thing to justify. What I'm going to say is this, though. The prosthetic makeup on them is worse, in my opinion. Do you
think it's worse,
like
really?
Yeah, it looks like a mask now. Like, and I know some smart ass in the comments going to say, it is a mask. But it's like, here's the thing. It's not supposed to look a mask. It's supposed to look an alien. And I think in, like, the previous Sontaran design, it did look like a potato-y looking alien.
Yeah.
This one looks like a mask. You can see the latex on it and stuff. And I think that's also because the BBC cut their ties with Millennium FX after Series 12.
I think
you can kind of tell in certain areas, like, for example, the Weeping Angels, their face masks no longer seem to fit properly and stuff. Like,
yeah.
It is noticeable.
I thought that was a choice, and I was like, that's a weird choice.
Nah, it's because, it's different people. It's in-house now, I believe.
I'm a bit torn on the actual Sontaran prosthetics, because on one hand, I actually kind of like that their skin is a bit more bumpy and less curved. I feel like it gives
I don't mind.
It gives it
like
just a
the
bit
mouths.
more of a less perfect, kind of more alien look to it. But yeah, no, I do see what you mean. When they're speaking, it does feel
you can see where the latex connects to the mouth, and like that the mouth has been widened with latex, and it just doesn't look convincing to me.
Yeah.
But like I do like the idea of the design a bit better. I feel like if you took that armor and combined it with the prosthetics that we had in the previous seasons, you'd have the right Sontaran there.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that they seem to have a little bit of their dignity restored, and I guess we'll go a bit more into that in War of the Sontarans.
Oh, we will.
But yeah, like,
I also like that they're still a bit goofy as well. Like,
they still got a little bit like
there's that back and forth with the two Sontarans about.
It's like you look dreadful, and it's like
you
war
look
has aged me. It's
old.
like, okay, let's not dwell on it. Like, I quite liked that.
Yeah, I liked that. I actually found that funny, and it didn't feel out of character for the Sontarans either. So that was nice to see. But yeah, to be fair, I know we've gone on about episode 1 for a long time, but I do feel like episode 1, besides the finale, has maybe the most to talk about, just because there is so much introduced.
Yeah, I feel like War of the Sontarans and the Angels episode are going to be quite easy to just quickly, like, say, you know...
Yeah, just quick thoughts. And speaking of, shall we jump into episode 2?
Right, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So...
Sontarans on a horse.
Yeah,
10
I
out of
actually
10.
quite liked that comedic line where it's like, I just wanted
Plus,
to ride a horse.
I wanted to ride a horse.
I quite
Yeah.
liked that.
I liked that, yeah.
This episode definitely gave the Sontarans their dignity back after the Stephen Moffat run. After we had, like,
yes.
Strax as part of the Paternoster gang. Fucking kill me now. Like, this did them much better. It was nice to see a Sontaran invasion. I like the whole thing that history's been rewritten a little bit and that they've jumped into Russia and Russia is now called Sontar. Really
I
awesome
liked that.
idea.
That's cool. Also, I know that killing people doesn't always make people more threatening, but I feel like in the Moffat era, there was so few casualties that...
Oh, there was! Like,
that
no
I was
one
actually,
killed anyone.
Exactly, and it's why I was actually quite surprised when the Sontarans actually executed those people that were spying on them. I was like, oh shit.
If you want to illustrate how tame the Moffat era was, there was only two Dalek stories out of however the fuck many where the Daleks actually killed someone. The fact is, there are Dalek stories where no one dies. Multiple Dalek stories with no deaths in the Moffat era.
And that is like the one thing that they do. They kill people.
Yeah.
And, off the top of my head, if you don't include the Doctor, I think I can only think of a handful of actual, like, exterminations. I mean, especially in Matt Smith's era. In Matt Smith's era, there's like 2.
There were 2 exterminations in Victory of the Daleks, and then Into the Dalek had a few.
Into the Dalek did to be fair, that did give them quite a few kills in that story.
That was the better one of the Moffat era, I would say.
It was,
but yeah, like, it was nice seeing the Sontarans kill some folks. However, I will say this,
and also on the battlefield as well. Them just tearing through all those soldiers. It was cool. It was good to see.
I will say this though, I'm tired of how much plot armor there is in Doctor Who these days.
Oh my god, are you thinking of the scene where the Sontarans are trying to shoot Dan? Like that
yes,
was
of course.
ridiculous.
Remember that shot in the Russell T Davies Sontaran episode where you literally follow the beams and how on point, on target their shots are.
Yeah. Oh.
And now to this where they're just like they can't even catch Dan.
See, other villains I could be like, okay, but the Sontarans are literally born to be soldiers. How did all of them miss Dan?
Well, it's like what we also have with the Daleks. Remember how they never missed a shot in the Russell era, and then come Moffat, they missed every shot.
Yeah, and then in the Chibnall era, they kill everyone, but always miss the Doctor. So
yeah. Whenever it's an important character, then they miss. I hate that. It's lazy. I know some people said you kind of have to allow some of that because otherwise it's hard to write. No, write around that. Like,
exactly. There had to be easier ways of writing around that. So it's
just don't put
agree.
the Doctor in a situation where they're going to get shot at if you're not going to actually have them get shot.
Yeah, like I'm all for a fun action sequence where people are avoiding oncoming fire, but it was on a wide street. And
there was
literally
multiple
there was
Sontarans.
nowhere that Dan could have taken cover or escaped the Sontarans. That he should be dead, man.
For me, though, the best part of the episode was once we got back to Swarm and Azure.
Hang on, I'm having a blank here. So what happens with them in that episode?
I don't know, there's a cliffhanger or something.
Yeah.
They get on, like, the Sontaran ship, and they've got these people, and they're like, oh, these people are vessels or something, and then they kidnap Yaz. Well, either way, it was just cool to see more of Swarm. Like,
yeah, it was cool to see more. I'm always down for more Swarm. There's a line that Swarm says to Yaz at the end of the episode. He says to her, "Why did the Doctor choose you?" And I'm like, Swarm, I've been wondering the same thing for years, buddy.
Good question, buddy.
Good question, my boy.
You hit the nail on the head, you purple demon fuck.
Yeah, and also, it was actually, no, I was wrong. It was in this episode that Swarm says, that his name is just a translation. It wasn't in episode 1, it was in this one. But even, yet again, they're still teasing that he is a returning villain in episode 2. And I don't think it was until episode 4 that I started to think... Actually, no, it was in episode 3, I think. Because in episode 3, we see Swarm in a flashback. And I think that was when I realised, okay, so Swarm is someone from the Doctor's past that she has forgotten because of the whole timeless child thing. I think that was when I realised he wasn't going to be like a returning character.
I mean, I don't know, I was still holding out hope, but like...
Yeah,
it was a mistake.
I think in episode 3, that's when they also introduce Tecteun. I can't remember what she originally called herself.
Oh, yeah, shall we move on to episode 3? I think I've kind of summed up my thoughts on War of the Sontarans. Like, they have their dignity back. It's a fun invasion story. It's a good episode with a really cool cliffhanger, I would say. Like,
agreed. And a few quick notes. It was really nice that, I think, is his name Dan Stark? The guy that used to play a lot of the Sontarans.
Oh, I think, yeah, Dan Starkey. It was nice to see he was back.
It was really nice to see him back in the role. He
was Strax, wasn't he?
He was Strax, that's right. Yeah, he was Strax. I enjoyed Mrs. Sequel. I thought that she was acted very well.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she was a fun character.
Was
yeah, she was fun.
Yeah, I really liked her sort of dynamic and everything as well. And she was played with a lot of charisma. Like, yeah, no, I enjoyed her.
Yeah. And also, I guess actually before we go into episode 3, just mention the cliffhanger. So they're on the planet Time, and I think Swarm is about to kill Yaz, and then that.
Oh, they show the passenger as well.
Oh, yeah, they show the passenger. Oh, wow.
Who has... Okay, can we just talk about his costume?
Oh, my God.
This is a BBC show, and he's wearing a fucking airsoft mask painted black.
It's a really bad costume. I know.
I kind of almost forgive it, because, like, okay, pandemic and all. But it's like, when you've got Swarm and Azure, fantastic makeup, and great striking designs, stood next to the passenger, who looks like he's wearing a fucking... Cos Daddy fucking Thanos cosplay with a fucking airsoft mask. You can buy that mask. You can fucking buy that mask on Wish. I'm telling you now. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna go on Wish right now.
Okay, look, if you find it, I'm gonna leave it in the link below. Okay, so just do this for all the people that want to cosplay Passenger. I'm sure there's dozens of you out there.
It's for all the boys at home. Airsoft mask. I found it.
You found it already.
£8.73 on Wish.
What are you people still doing here? Go get it. Why are you still watching?
Next convention, the Doctor Who meetup will be purely passengers.
Oh my god, can we do it? Can you and I do a cute little duo cosplay?
I feel like it would be so easy. I feel like the hardest part would be that fabric-y outfit, but like...
Yeah, I know what you mean though. There's such a weird contrast between the amazing makeup of Swarm and Azure and then the passenger that's just like...
You can't make it up. Like,
you can't...
Doctor Who has been kind of known for being quite a low-budget show. But then this just comes along, and it's just... What the fuck?
Yeah. But... Episode 3! Let's go.
Okay, this one... Okay, so we're back to the storytelling format of... We're just gonna... spooge all over the audience with information.
Oh, this episode is exposition central. That's one of my biggest complaints with Chibnall's writing. He just, unlike other writers where they just subtly introduce character growth over the series, Chibnall's like, okay, this is exposition episode. This is your chance to get attached to these characters that you've known nothing about, and from this point onward will receive no more development.
Well, in this episode, there's a scene where Yaz is gaming, so therefore it is the best episode of the bunch.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Oh, actually, wait. Is that the scene? Is there does a weeping angel appear in the game?
Yeah, so it's kind of almost like a reference to like the Lonely Assassins.
This feels like a fever dream. This honestly, I can't believe that happened. And
also, why is Jodie Whittaker's outfit in this episode so much better than her normal outfit? I'll never know.
It is a lot better.
So, the story this time. There's a time storm and everyone gets caught up in each other's timelines, and we learn a bit more about Vinder and his background working under the Grand Serpent. Who is the Grand Serpent? It's another mystery to unfold.
Oh, is he a returning character? He's not.
I'm sure this will amount to something.
No.
It doesn't even need to be a returning character, just as long as he's something, you know?
You know what? I've got to be honest. I wasn't really that interested in that side plot with the Grand Serpent, so I kind of slightly tuned out, not thinking he would ever appear in the show again, because I thought this would just be in Vinder's flashback. So then, when he becomes an actual relevant character in episode 5, I was like, shit, I should have paid more attention to episode 3, because I wasn't expecting it.
Shit, I forgot to mention Belle's story, how the episode opens, and she's like in a Dalek faction, and she's had to survive, and there's these like time butterfly things consuming stuff. There are the funniest CGI Daleks you ever did see.
Oh my god! Okay, I won't lie to you though. I did not think the Daleks were going to appear in this series.
I didn't either. When she mentioned the Daleks, I was like, ooh, and then I saw them, I was like, ooh. But like,
because I think we all assumed that the Daleks were going to just appear in the New Year special, which lo and behold, they are.
She's just name-dropping enemies throughout her story. She's like, I was in the Dalek faction. I then moved along and I was in the Cyber faction.
Yeah, and I was like...
That's her whole story. It's like, I'm traveling across the universe to find my BF.
She just feels like a really lucky extra who gets to confront all these cool villains just because she's like,
How the hell did she survive, though? Like, what is the threat of the Daleks and Cybermen at this point? But,
yeah, exactly.
Also, just having factions in the galaxy where the Daleks have taken over and taken advantage of the Flux, and having areas where the Cybermen have taken advantage. Why is this not elaborated on more? I would much rather see like this
would have been so because I was wondering over the first 2 episodes, I was like, this massive universe ending event, I want to see how it's affecting the universe. I want to see, what's happening to the big bads. And so
yeah, they could have done like a No Man's Land Gotham kind of thing with this.
They could have done, yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. This actually does deliver on something I wanted to see in Season 5.
What's that?
When they did the total event collapse when the Doctor went into Pandorica,
yeah.
Rather than doing the Big Bang, which is just the Doctor running around twirling the sonic screwdriver going, oh, we gotta do this, they could have had like a intergalactic post-Flux No Man's Land universe.
Yeah.
Like, you could have Doctor Who Flux literally immediately after the total event collapse, and I think that would have been good. Like, Series 6, I would have much rather they'd done, like... There's been so many occasions when Doctor Who should have done an interspatial No Man's Land with different enemies taking factions.
I always wonder, is it down to a writing decision or down to just budget, But
yeah, I mean, like, I know it costs them money to bring out the Daleks and everything, but it's like, again, like, I would much rather...
I feel like the Daleks must be quite an easy one compared to the others, because, they have the Dalek props just ready to use. It must be easier.
The thing is, I think they have to pay royalties to the Terry Nation estate every time they're on screen.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But, like, yeah, no, like, that's the thing, is, like, I would happily cut off those New Year's Day specials if it meant that we could have the Daleks actually factor into this bigger plot here. Like,
yeah.
Because they would have been an entertaining part of this narrative. Like, I would really like it if we could have them be a part of the main story. It's like, I feel like the Daleks mean more than that,
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're very kind of separated to everything else in the Chibnall era, which in some ways is good, because I feel like it does kind of give them a chance to shine on their own right. I feel like Resolution and Revolution did a good job of kind of establishing the Daleks as threats after the Moffat era.
But it also makes them kind of irrelevant to any of the larger stuff.
Yeah,
and they just get the small stories, but like all the same, okay, they're present in this episode.
It was
Why do we never get to see them?
It was a nice surprise. As you know, I'm a massive Dalek fan, so I did squee when they showed up on screen. It was a very nice, even if they didn't get any lines, it was nice to see them in the episode.
Listen, like, I think everyone knows by now, I'm a bigger fan of the Daleks than I am Doctor Who itself. Like,
you know what? I think I'm the same.
If it were up to me, the Daleks would be a constant reoccurring baddie. Like,
Should we just talk about Daleks? Like,
oh my god, I love Daleks. They're so cool.
I'm looking at my virginity shelf, my Dalek shrine just over here, looking at these beauties, and I'm like, they are so nice to look at.
They're eye candy to have on screen. Their voices are so spooky. They're so cool. Like, I love them.
Like, what you were saying about them being in, like, every episode, I know a lot of people have issues with how often the Daleks show up. I don't know
that. Like,
I don't know why. For some reason, I never get tired of seeing them. I'm always...
No, like, what is the point if you know, like... What is the point of Doctor Who without the Daleks? Like, it's like Russell T Davies said, it's like fish without chips. Or,
exactly.
I mean, I'm sure there's an even better allegory than that, but like...
I'll admit, it must be tough bringing the Daleks back because of how many stories they've told, but I still think it's very possible for writers to think of new, fun, original ideas that involves the Daleks.
Well, I mean, like, this is the thing, is like, how many times can you show them get defeated while still taking them seriously?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Brain Box, don't have them get defeated immediately. You know what they could have done? Rather than having the Flux destroy the universe, have the Daleks decide, fuck it, we're just going to go full force, and have them be the destructive force that acts as the catalyst for a series.
I've wanted that since I was a kid. I've daydreamed about that exact story. I mean, the closest thing we had to that was probably Stolen Earth, because that is a universe-wide attack from the Daleks, to be fair.
Have a long, ongoing series where the Daleks have won already, and it's a matter of taking it back. And they have to do all kinds of time travel fuckery. They have to really go the distance to restore the universe. And maybe at the end, not all of it is restored. Like, here's the thing. Like, yeah, obviously you gotta restore Earth, because, like, God forbid we don't film in Cardiff today. But, like...
Yeah.
there is such a thing as other planets, you know? Have them actually destroy a planet. Have them win. We could be getting that, but instead we're getting, New Year's Day!
What is the Flux? What is the Flux?
What the Flux?
What the Flux?
I swear, every episode begins with that. It's like, you always get the previous trailer, it's the Flux. What's the Flux?
What is the Flux? But, do you know what I really love? I really love how we spoke about Bell for about half a minute, and then we were just 5 minutes just talking about Daleks, and they're not even in it for 30 seconds. Oh... What is wrong with us?
Also, the Cybermen. We spoke about plot armor in the previous episode.
Oh god, you're right. There's another one, isn't there? It's Bell versus the Cybermen.
And like, there's like how many Cybermen? Like fucking 10 Cybermen, and she's just dodging their shots, and she shoots them. Like, if she can dodge, why can't they dodge?
Exactly. It is really... I am getting a nice kick out of hearing sort of the Cyberman voices from, Series 2. Ever since they reintroduce those voices in the Series 12 finale, it is really nice to hear those voices again.
Yeah, it feels like they're properly back. Like, it's still not my favorite Cyberman voice. I still prefer, I think my favorite Cyberman voice is like the Patrick Troughton Moonbase Cyberman voice.
Oh, those ones are scary. Yeah,
they sound like Daft Punk. I love it. But like...
that does sound scary. Yeah. but no, it's nice, and at least they get a bit. Unlike the Daleks, the Cybermen actually they get a couple of lines. Nick Briggs gets to do something this episode.
They actually get a few too many lines. In fact, I'd say, like, because she kills that one Cyberman. And then they're just basically having a really casual conversation.
Yeah, and it's a bit
like the Cyberman's just, like, answering her questions. He's so friendly about it. She's like, oh, what's going on? It's like, the Flux is killing people. How many Cybermen are there? 10. Like, he's so friendly. He's so nice. Like, thank you, little dead Cyberman.
But, this episode I wasn't that keen on. Overall, I've got to be honest, it was very much just kind of an exposition dump, and
we did get the implication that Carvanista was a companion to the Fugitive Doctor.
Yes, that's true.
Which went nowhere. Which went fucking nowhere.
And I know we did kind of touch on it earlier on, but what did you think of the Fugitive Doctor in this episode?
Oh, she was barely in it.
Yeah.
I love Fugie. She's the best. She's the best Chibnall era Doctor.
She's the best female Doctor. Yeah.
It's so sad that this is the way it is.
It is
But,
really
like,
depressing, isn't it?
And she was barely like they could have at least had her have a whole scene to herself without her constantly switching to Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, she...
Fucking hell.
Justice for Fugitive Doctor. The BBC has done you so dirty.
Make her the 14th Doctor. Russell T Davies, like, look, man, I love you. I love your ideas, but just make this right.
Make it right.
Make this right. Make good on this. I know you want to do your own thing.
I agree, but
right.
That's the thing, though. Why is it fair that he should have to fix Chibnall's mess? You know,
It's only fair. We just need justice for Joe Martin, man. Like,
justice for Joe Martin, honestly.
This isn't right, you know?
Great
Like,
actress, awesome potential for a Doctor. You were done dirty.
I tell you what, if I was the showrunner, and I was just walking in, and they said, alright, you can pick your Doctor and stuff, you have anyone you want. It's like, we gotta make this right. I have a responsibility. Joe Martin is the Doctor. And you know what? I want to see it. It's not just that... It's not just that I feel like I have to. Like, I genuinely want to see that happen. I want to see that play out. Like,
no, that's the thing, yeah. I see her... I feel like she gets the character. And that's all I really want right now. Just an actor who I can believe is the Doctor. You know,
like, well done, you know?
I'm not going to be that person that says, oh, you know... this era isn't canon. You know how Star Wars fans are saying that the sequels never happened.
That, like...
But the thing is, there is still a part of me that kind of looks forward to Russell's era again, because it could potentially feel like real Doctor Who. Because I've just not connected with Jodie. And
you win some, you lose some. You take the good, you take the bad, you take the both.
Exactly. Not much else happens in this episode. Tecteun reveals that.
Why is she here? Why is she
actually, that's
here?
a good point. Tecteun is introduced, and she reveals that the flux was deliberately placed. That's what she reveals.
Yeah,
so,
the flux was. Why is it Tecteun that reveals this?
I don't know.
What is her actual significance? Like, she's not actually revealed as Tecteun in this episode. She's another mystery character.
Yeah, I know. She calls herself like I'll sock.
But we get the follow up, and she's revealed to be Tecteun. Okay. Why? What's the actual significance? It goes nowhere!
I guess it was just a way of reintroducing the Timeless Child, but did we need it to happen via Tecteun?
Oh, also, the Doctor really wants her memories back in this episode. This is where it's set up that she's determined to find answers to her history.
Yeah.
I wonder if we will get those in this season.
I really wonder as well.
I wonder if we will also get the chance to get those, and that they might just swipe it to one side again.
That'll be shit storytelling, just pointless padding.
That would just be completely incompetent. This is the thing that bugs me so much, though, is, there's so much from, Doctor Who mythology that there is so many attempts at importance within greater Doctor Who continuity just thrown in there without rhyme or reason. If Tecteun revealed herself as literally any other character, it would play out the exact same. She could have been like, oh, I'm actually the Rani, you know? It would have made no difference. She could have just said, I am Tecteun Lethbridge Stewart. I am literally Mark Gatiss. It would have made no difference.
The Lethbridge Stewart theme styles to play.
I am the Cyberbrig.
The Cyberbrig. Did you think that she was the Rani?
No.
I
thought, I immediately, when I saw it, I was like, Tecteun.
Did you really?
No, I thought she could be. I was like, so... Because, she seems to know the Doctor on, an intimate level. And she's an old woman, so it kind of checks out. No offense, actress. It's just objective facts.
Yeah, it's just
it's
how person. It is. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it checks out. She looks like she could be the Doctor's mum. Sort of. Surrogate mum.
I think I just repressed the Timeless Child. I hadn't even considered that it may have been Tecteun.
I was ready to dive in. I was ready to dive headfirst into this mystery. I was like, I reckon that's going to be Tecteun.
Good for you,
and lo and behold, it was.
It was.
Cock big. But, oh man, yeah. But yeah, she did nothing, did she?
No,
it'd be you know...
It's even sadder following what happens at the end of episode 5 when she's just... or is it episode... Oh yeah, it is episode 5. Yeah, where she's just killed off, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I guess that was her done.
That was Tecteun. We learned nothing there. That was
Yeah.
fun.
And
I mean, we learned that she's a manipulative asshole, but like, she kind of had to be. Like, she kidnapped a kid and then experimented on
well,
it.
yeah,
Like,
she was. Yeah, exactly. She was never going to be a good character.
Although my fan theory about Swarm would have helped it, but yeah, episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3 ends with the angel taking the TARDIS.
Yeah, okay, interesting little development there.
Yeah,
I had a feeling that it was like, okay, we're gonna go into a bit more of a run-of-the-mill Doctor Who story for the next one. So that brings us to the Angel. I don't even know the title of this one. The Angels and the Doctor Who Flux episode.
I was just going to call it episode 4, honestly. I mean,
Angels take Manhattan. I don't know.
I was really impressed that you knew the names for the first 3 episodes, because I didn't know any of them. But
okay, so I believe this episode was written by Maxine Alderton, if I'm not mistaken, and she was the writer of The Haunting of Villa Diodati.
That makes a whole lot of sense, considering
Because this episode is
my
really
favorite.
good.
Yeah,
this is by far the best one of the bunch.
This is the best episode.
Not only is it the best episode of the season, I would say it's the best Angels episode we've had as well.
Like, period, do you think?
Yeah, period. I mean, I personally don't hold the Angels or Blink in as high regard as a lot of others seem to. And I personally thought that this was a refreshing take on them.
Yeah, I mean, I do hold Blink in pretty high regard just because I think it's just a very clever standalone episode, and I think it's like watching a horror short film, you know, and I've always liked that. But I can see myself liking episode 4 more than any other Angel story that's come before this.
I guess my one and only criticism of this one is I do think the Angels lose a little bit of their mystique once they start talking.
Yeah, and also another issue that I have is I feel like there's maybe one too many scare scenes, if you know what I mean, because I sometimes feel like minimalism can be good storytelling. I feel, you know, the go-to example is obviously the original Alien film, where, you know, you barely see the alien, but when it shows up, it's scary. There are so many scenes in this episode of, you know, oh, people see Angel, they try not to blink, something happens, and then they get got, you know. But
can I also just say, like, this is more my issue with the Angels in general than it is this episode, but I've always thought that actual angel scares could be handled so much better if they're a bit more subtle. Like, they always have this camera shutter sound effect.
Oh my, that sound effect completely...
Like, they don't need that. Like, you could literally just have the angel be behind them silently, and it would be a whole lot
That
scarier.
would be so... I really don't like that sound effect. And when you know that angel briefly shows up in Revolution of the Daleks, and
yeah,
and you get that sound effect, and you get that weird camera movement. That one scene had me worried about how Chibnall would handle the Angels, because I don't feel like from the time of Angels onwards they were very scary. I feel like the sound effects were too much. The camera,
they had it in Blink as well. I've always just found like it feels like it's trying too hard to be a jump scare, when sometimes the scariest jump scares that catch you off guard the most are the ones that aren't telegraphed.
Yeah, exactly. And a part of me actually wonders if maybe this is done on purpose to make it less scary, because obviously Doctor Who is a family show, so maybe that's why. But it is disappointing because the Angels have so much horror potential, and I love horror, so I always want things to be, you know, as scary as they can be, and I feel like the Angels are just such missed potential. That said, there were some really good scenes in this episode. There was one when I think you know there's that elderly couple that they're looking for Peggy together. When the man gets zapped back by the angel and it leaves the woman there, you kind of see the angel kind of put its hands down, but rather than doing the scary face, it's just looking at her blankly, and I feel like that's scary.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're more scary when they're not doing their roaring faces.
Yeah, I agree. Just their blank, lifeless faces, I think that's a lot scarier. Also, speaking of sound effects and stuff, I really liked the Weeping Angel theme.
I didn't actually I didn't notice that they had a theme. I'm not gonna lie, but
Well, I feel like
really like Seigen Akinola.
I've noticed with Seigen, rather than having big themes, he has kind of motifs. I've noticed that the Daleks, the Master, and the Cybermen all have kind of motifs, and
I love his Cyberman motif. Like,
I love his
drums,
Dalek motif. And the Cyberman one's great as well. But the Angels have like this. It's like a demented horn sound effect, and it's quite. It sends shivers up your spine when you hear it, and I really liked that.
This is one thing I'm apprehensive about going back into the Russell T Davies 2 era, is that Russell T Davies pretty much exclusively works with Murray Gold. And I'm going to say this.
Do you think he'd bring Murray back?
I liked Murray. I don't want him back. I
don't want him back, but that's because I feel like after series... I feel like from series 8 onwards, I feel like he just kind of lost inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of, like, the series 10 finale.
Oh, yeah, and also, like, the Shepherd's Boy as well, you know.
He had his moments.
He had his moments, but, like, you know, when you go back and listen to soundtracks from... You know, series 3 and 4, like every single track is memorable. But like when you listen to the series 9 soundtrack, there's like maybe 2 or 3 bits of music that are really.
I mean, I'll say this also. Like, I often found quite a bit of Murray Gold's scores to be a little intrusive. There were so many occasions where you could have had a scene that was more impactful without music, and oftentimes like Murray's scores would be like, "Feel sad now" and stuff like that. I really like that Seigen Akinola's music's a bit more subtle, and it's he plays around a bit more with like soundscapes.
It's a bit more ambient, I think. It's a lot of ambience, and I do quite like it.
That Seigen Akinola is also quite young and fresh to the industry and stuff, and I feel like it would just be a shame to throw him out just to get the old guard back in, if you get me. Like,
yeah, I agree, and it's funny. In Series 11, I was quite harsh towards his music. I felt it was a big step down from Murray. But when I started to hear, like, his Dalek theme and his, the Master theme and then the Cybermen, I've really grown to appreciate his... Also, whilst he started off very much just kind of exclusively ambient, he's gotten bigger as time's gone on. We're getting much bigger, bolder scores now from like full orchestras, kind of just like how it was before.
I'll also go as far as to say his Time Lord theme. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but his Time Lord theme on the Series 12 soundtrack is incredible. I'd go as far as to say it's better than This Is Gallifrey.
That is very bold. That is very bold indeed. People might dislike the video now, but it's okay, because no one can see the dislike bar.
I'll kill them.
Yeah. I also liked... what other theme do I like? I like the 13th Doctor's theme. I feel like it's not.
Yeah,
I feel like it's not played enough.
It's like the opposite of the "I am the Doctor."
It is literally a minor inconvenience happens. It's just
literally the Doctor just breathes.
It is every occasion. It did get a bit ridiculous, and I feel like the same thing happened with the 12th Doctor's theme as well.
Yeah, like literally every time the 12th Doctor has some kind of revelation, which is literally 5 times an episode because the 12th Doctor was just constantly learning.
Yeah, there's a slight breeze in the air. Dun, 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 dun.
Clara, I can breathe.
But yeah, let's see. What else do I like about this episode? There is a lot. I actually rewatched this episode today actually because I remembered it being my favorite, and I just wanted to watch it again. And
can I just say, it's a crime we haven't mentioned Jericho yet.
Oh my goodness, how have we not mentioned Jericho?
That man is the MVP, not only of this episode, but of this season.
Jericho was such an unexpected surprise. Like he became like a pseudo companion afterwards, and
he was that. So good. He was such a good character.
Fantastic actor, very good actor.
Yep. Like, I loved Jericho.
Jericho had some great scenes. I love when the Angels are talking to him through the TV. using his own voice, and they're like, join the angels, you know you want to. I really enjoyed that. I love how when they start ringing the doorbell, and Jericho's just like, are they really ringing the doorbell?
Also, when they start like manipulating him, like, you know, you've lived a life without love and stuff like that, I really felt for him. Like,
I know, I really love when the angels get like that. I know you say they get a bit less scary when they talk, and I do agree, but I think they're very nasty, playful villains, and it is fun to kind of, you know, they explain it in the next episode. The reason that they turn the Doctor into an angel is just because they found it funny, just to see her in their
I liked
form,
that.
you know.
That was another thing. I like the sort of manipulation of that one angel gaslighting the Doctor into taking form and stuff, and like I mean, like, there was also the whole thing of, like, the angels are working for the division. How the fuck did they manage that and stuff?
Yeah.
Gosh, I wonder if we'll get any kind of elaboration on that idea later down the line. I fucking hate Doctor Who.
Okay, let's see. Is there anything that... I'm just looking through my notes quickly. Oh, yes. So, the angels are revealed to be part of an extraction squad for Division.
Yes.
Cool.
That goes nowhere.
It goes nowhere.
It goes nowhere.
Yeah.
It's another thing that goes nowhere.
It was a cool idea. I like the idea of there being different species, even some as evil as the angels, that are part of this mystery division. But again, it doesn't go anywhere, you know? However, I'll tell you what does go somewhere, and very quickly, the angels themselves. I feel like this episode did a really good job at kind of showcasing how fast they actually are. Like, there's that scene where the Doctor, like, runs down into the tunnels, she closes the door behind her, and they're already knocking at the door, like, instantly. And I'm like...
I also like when you could see their arms coming through, like, the cave as well. Like,
yeah, that was great. Basically, I feel like this episode really did the angels justice, and I'm really glad to see that, because...
It was also nice to see them as recurring little presences throughout the series as well.
That was really nice. It's funny, when there were, like, set photos being leaked from this series, I think back then we were all expecting each episode to be, like, a standalone story, and so when the angels came back, I thought, oh, cool, we're going to get an angel episode. Whereas in reality, they were very much just kind of an ongoing presence throughout the series. And, you know, I liked that there were some angel scenes scattered here, there, and everywhere. Apart from the video game scene, that was
apart from the gaming
stupid.
scene, it was so silly. It was clearly like an endorsement for the Angels video game that you can buy.
Yeah.
But like, why can't they do this with the Daleks for real? Like,
oh, don't even get me started. This is already long enough. If we start talking about this, we're going to be here for hours, because this is
what I was talking about. It's just
this is what I want. I want our boys done well, and thankfully, they may be, with Russell coming back. So I realise I'm hinging a lot on Russell right now. I'm not expecting him to recapture the glory days or anything.
If Russell T Davies can't get the show good,
who can?
Who
can? Smash like. There's one thing I want to say about this episode before we move on. I found it kind of funny that when the couple were yelling Peggy, not only did I start to get flashbacks to Benny, but then later on in the episode, an actor from The Inbetweeners shows up as well. And
Neil is in it.
And I was like,
oh, I forgot about that.
History's repeating itself.
Okay, so I actually really like Neil's character in this. And I like the whole thing of, like, Azure is saying, you know, that she's got salvation in the form of the passenger, and that Belle talks him out of it, and that he resents her. I really liked that. I liked it too. We were both saying earlier on that we wish we'd seen more of what impact the Flux had on the universe. I enjoyed seeing how, like, these people were so desperate that, like, you know, the passenger comes along with the promise of salvation, and they're just like, yeah, fuck it, they'll take their chances. Yeah, they'll take their chances. Exactly. But oh man, Neil is another thing we should have seen more of. Like, because again, it didn't go anywhere. He comes, he goes. Like,
yeah, I think in episode 5, in the previously trailer, they showed Neil, and so I was expecting him to show up again, but he didn't. This is the last time we see him. Is they do a weird thing. The episode ends, and there's like a cool reverb version of the Doctor Who theme. And
I think that was because the Doctor was turning into an angel. They kind of took the
and
bass out. It was so
like, that's
spooky
cool.
sounding.
It was really cool. But yeah, and then we get like a little scene with Vinda where he meets Neil, and I think he sees the recording that
Bell left for him.
Yeah, the bell left for him. Yeah, so
it's a big mystery that's unfolding here. I wonder what.
I
the
hope
outcome
it
will be.
goes somewhere. That'll be really cool.
I sure hope that that there is a resolution to this.
You know, people online thought that Belle and Vinda were going to be the Doctor's parents.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know what? I wouldn't have even. I was honestly like, you know what? This is Chibnall. I can see it happening. But
I mean, I'd say it's better than nothing. Huh? I wonder what will happen. Again, I don't care if it offends the fans. Serve your narrative, Chibnall.
This is where the video, I think, gets a bit less fun, because we're now diving into kind of the final part of the series.
Oh yes, the penultimate chapter, chapter 5.
I've got to be honest, I do not have much to say about episode 5. There's a few things that I like.
I've forgotten what happens.
So, God, I'm going to do my best here. So, one of the main things that happens is the Grand Serpent infiltrating unit over, over history. And
oh yeah, Kate Lethbridge
Kate was in it.
Does nothing.
And she does nothing. Except, here's the thing though. You know how things were introduced throughout the series, and you were like, what was the point in that? This episode has several flashbacks to Grand Serpent infiltrating unit. Here's what I'm wondering. Why couldn't we have had bits and pieces of this in the episodes before? Had more of a build-up to it. You know, in episode 3, have him first find unit. Episode 4, have him at like the halfway point. And then
they're trying to do the whole non-linear narrative to unravel who this character is, but we still don't know who he is by the end of it. So yeah, they might as well have just done it in that order, like you said.
Yeah, and then obviously by the end of this episode, he's reached 2017, where I don't believe that Chibnall planned this since Resolution. I genuinely think that UNIT was closed down just to make a Brexit joke, and now they were like, well shit, we kind of...
Well, she's the leader of human resistance.
Well, I was going to say, I say they needed UNIT in this story, but what did UNIT really do besides obviously deactivate their missiles or whatever?
Honest to God, I've completely forgotten this episode.
I've drawn a blank. I'm sorry.
It's definitely the Grand Serpent episode.
It is. Although there are a few other things. We finally get to know a bit more about Joseph Williamson and his tunnels.
Oh yeah, tunnel guy.
Yeah,
the mystery is unraveled.
That guy from the beginning.
That other mystery character who. Here's the thing, Chris Chibnall. Not every character needs to be a mystery character. Yeah. I feel like he's just taking literally any character he can get and turning it into a mystery.
I mean, you got to keep those hooks, man. You got to keep.
You got to
keep people watching.
It's so disingenuous.
It is.
The more we're talking about this, the more I'm finding cracks are really starting to show.
I don't like feeling like I'm being tricked into watching something. And yes, I know that we're not being forced at gunpoint.
No, but
it
does
Doctor
feel
Who.
That way, though, doesn't it? Like,
but yeah,
they're promising us like these big answers and these big revelations, and in the end, it's like, oh, I guess like, why could we not have just known that and let this play out? Like,
yeah, exactly. What else happens? Oh yeah, Tech Tayun dies for some reason. She gets...
Yeah, she's about and she dies.
She dies. I don't really have anything to add to this because I'm going to put as much effort into this review as Chibnall put into her character development. So moving on.
Oh, it has the cutest Ood
There
ever
is an
in it,
Ood.
though.
Yes, there is an Ood.
He's adorable.
I love the
Ood.
Ood.
He's so cute.
The Ood, I know what you mean. I feel like we were saying earlier on that some villains look worse now, like the Sontarans, in terms of like, prosthetics and looking less realistic. But there are some that have definitely kind of benefited from, like, do you remember how good the Jadoon looked in Series 12? They looked f***ing amazing.
Although that was still done under Millennium Effects, I believe. Whereas, like, I think the last episode that Millennium FX worked on was Praxius.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And I'm never gonna say anything negative about Millennium FX because those were the guys that brought Absorbaloff to life. I cannot slander them. I've met them, they're really nice people. I've got them as friends on Facebook, and they were devastated when they got dropped by the BBC for Doctor Who. So I like wherever there is like
I didn't realize they were dropped. I thought
it's like I'm reluctant to admit that I really like the way Swarm and Azure looked, but it's like because it's now all done by BBC in-house, basically. Oh,
I see.
Whereas
okay.
Millennium FX were like a third party, basically. So they're saving money by getting it all done by their own people.
At what cost? At what cost?
At the cost of some really nice people.
And also destroying the possibility of us ever having an Absorbaloff return one day.
Well, they could. They'd just do it in-house, like they did with the Ood and the Angels.
Yeah, but if Zorby's coming back, it's got to be done properly. Like...
It's got to be done by the guys that gave him life in the first place. It's only right. But, like, yeah, no, like, the Ood looked really cute. He had cute eyes. The eyes were different, and the eyes were
different. I'm pretty sure it was, but was it the same guy that used to voice the Ood? I feel like it was.
It sounds about right. Like, he sounds right.
It does sound.
I really liked him though. Like, can the Doctor have an Ood companion?
I would love that. Honestly, he was lovely to watch in the episode. Really,
need. They're just soothing. They're soothing to have. Like, just have like it doesn't have to be the main companion, but like just have an Ood around.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Also, I'm kind of thinking about everything in context now. We went from Series 11 with no returning villains to Series 13 where it feels like a tribute to the Moffat and Russell T Davies era.
I felt like Series 11 was Chibnall does Chibnall, Series 12 was Chibnall does Russell T Davies, and Series 13 is Chibnall does Moffat.
That's a really good point, actually, yeah, because I would say that the Moffat's main villains were probably the Cybermen and the Master, and obviously those are in Series 12. And in this series, you've got Ooze, you've got Sontarans, you've got Weeping Angels, you know, villains who I think a lot of people do associate with the Russell T Davies era of the show. So yeah, you're right. You're spot on. But yeah,
but it's also just like the storytelling as well. Like, actually, that's the point. Yeah, one of the things I wanted to mention in episode 3 was that it was probably the most Stephen Moffat feeling Chibnall episode we'd ever had.
Yeah, exactly. It was, yeah. And by that, you mean a complete mind
Well, this fairy tale-ish story about Belle. You've got cameos from familiar villains that only end up being cameos.
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, Moffat did that a lot. Just kind of...
Moffat really, like, he would have all these villains in the Next Time trailer that would appear for, like, 30 seconds.
They did that in the finale. Like, the Next Time trailer in episode 5, it shows, like, Sontarans, Daleks, Cybermen.
Yeah, don't show Daleks in the trailer if they're barely in the episode.
I won't lie, I did try to keep my expectations in check, because I thought to myself the Daleks will probably only show up for a few minutes. They showed up even less than I imagined. Like,
also, the majority of it was reused footage from Revolution.
I'm pretty sure it was all reused footage. Yeah, I'm like 90% sure there was.
Also, why did they need to send an entire fleet for negotiations? I get ahead of myself. Episode 5. Okay.
That's our review, just okay.
It's another mindfuck episode. That's the thing, is like episodes that are on even numbers tend to be pretty good. Episodes that are on odd numbers tend to be a fucking mindfuck.
But do you know what generally always tends to be bad? Chibnall finales. So moving on to episode 6.
Honestly, I liked The Timeless Children better than this.
I think I did as well, and I can't actually believe I'm saying that.
At least that had Sacha Darwin. At least that had Ashad. At least that had Cybermen and Gallifrey and cool shit going on. What happened in this finale?
Okay, I don't even know where to begin with this. So
okay, so the Sontarans are about.
They're a joke, though. Again,
So we had episode 2, which restored their dignity. Now they're obsessed with chocolate.
You know what? I was really excited for this episode because you know in episode 5 when they're teasing a big villain at the end, I actually thought it was going to be the Cybermen. When it was revealed to be the Sontarans, I won't lie, at first I was a bit disappointed, but then I thought to myself, you know what? No, this is actually really nice. It's a nice way of wrapping up the series by having a villain from earlier come back after having been relatively easily defeated. I thought this could be a good opportunity for the Sontarans to really kick ass for the finale. You know?
I was intrigued by, like, the fact that we're getting a finale with the Sontarans as the main villain. That was like,
yeah,
okay,
that was the first.
Quite a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
There's that whole thing where the Doctor basically kamikazes the Sontaran ship, but they've got a force field. Yet, didn't she do something really similar in the past and it actually worked?
Yeah, no, they actually did. Yeah, Dan did that in War of the Sontarans. Yeah, they kamikazed and it destroyed like the entire fleet. So
is this by the same writer? Who wrote War of the Sontarans?
I actually don't know. I'm not sure who wrote that.
Google it?
Yeah, let's Google
consult
it.
the Google. But okay, so War of the Sontarans writer. Oh, fuck me, it's Chris Chibnall.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it's Chris Chibnall.
You couldn't even stay consistent with the one writer. That's... Fuck me.
Amazing. It takes a special kind of talent. But
Jesus Christ, what's the point of being alive?
I'm just kind of getting the Sontarans out of the way now because there's really not much to them. I do kind of like their plan to get rid of the Cybermen and Daleks. I think it's a smart idea. And the plan works surprisingly well. Like, they kill millions of Daleks and Cybermen.
It's so weird, though, like, how there's a big kind of build-up to this parley. And it's like, oh, these are going to be some tough negotiations. And it's like, you tend to think the Daleks are going to be a hard sell. But they arrive and they're just like, yep, we accept your terms.
Yeah, that was weird, because the Daleks...
And they've sent an entire fleet in for those just to... Imagine sending the entire Dalek fleet, just say, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, I'm pretty sure, besides the Alliance in the Series 5 finale, I'm pretty sure the Daleks have, like, never agreed to do a proper team-up before. I mean, in new Doctor Who, I mean.
I thought that the Alliance was a step too far as well in the Pandorica Opens. I just do not see the Daleks hanging out with other people. Like, okay, maybe in, like, the crusty old Hartnell era where the Daleks weren't fully defined, but, like, nowadays, I don't think you can really do that.
No.
But, okay, this should have been the entire episode. The Daleks, the Sontarans, and the Cybermen trying to agree to a parley to survive the Flux.
Mm-hmm. That would have been interesting.
That would have been good.
That would have been fun.
And I don't think that should have been the finale, because obviously there's a lot to still resolve, but it would have at least been, you know, a fun, monster-centric episode. What we get instead is... Okay, so the Grand Serpent is working with the Sontarans. I don't know why, because he doesn't do anything. And it's revealed that he's the Grand Serpent.
Yeah.
That's all
Great.
there is.
Cool.
Swarm and Azure are revealed to just be Swarm and Azure. Why did you show them regenerating if that didn't even begin to factor in?
I mean, I've got to be honest with you, I actually never saw it as a regeneration for some reason, but in hindsight, I guess it
is it a different actor when we first see him? Like,
I don't know, but he does sound very different. Maybe you're
his voice
right.
is different, his entire personality is different, and you see like beams of light come from his face. He changes form, he's renewed. He's got a new personality.
It's funny, I never actually made the connection. I just assumed he was just kind of... You know how a snake like sheds its skin, you know? I just kind of imagined it as something like that, you know, underneath.
But see, this is what got me thinking, was that the resolution could be that maybe Tecteun wasn't a villain after all. That maybe it was that she took the Doctor from the planet Time, where Swarm and Azure are from, and Swarm and Azure are the Doctor's original species, and the reason they looked that way is because the Doctor was destined to eventually regenerate into those creatures, hence why the Time Lords put a regeneration limit in place at 13 regenerations, so that people wouldn't end up turning into monsters like Swarm and Azure.
Wow.
Oh boy, that would have actually been a resolution, but no! Swarm and Azure are just random aliens that wanted to unleash the Flux to free time, which is now a physical force, and they wanted to sacrifice the Doctor for it, but ultimately they're sacrificing the Doctor to... I don't know what that was at the end. Who then gives more exposition about the fact that some kind of master is going to be on his way, who's very mastery and might just master the Doctor's master. And the Doctor's gonna regenerate, and she's like, oh, I don't want to go. Fucking where have I heard that before?
Oh, I don't want to have another Doctor doesn't want to regenerate plot.
Also, that spooky house from War of the Sontarans barely gets elaborated on. It's just the Doctor's memories are all there.
Was that all it was? Just it was like a metaphor for like her memories?
It was a visual metaphor for her scrambled memories.
Oh, what a shit resolution!
Just kind of torturing her with that. The Doctor gets split into 3 characters because the episode is fully aware that there's way too much going on, so they literally have to split the Doctor into 3.
That is hilarious. I didn't even think about it like that, but that's a good point. Yeah.
Dan and Yaz do something.
Are you sure?
Well, they're just off. They're off elsewhere. Jericho gets killed off.
Yeah, Jericho dies. Oh,
fucking Kate Stewart does all. Nothing.
Channel Pup's entire species gets killed, except him.
And then they have this scene where he finds out his people are dead, and he's raging, and it's a really cool scene. And he's left to just stew in his cell. Good scene. End it there. No, they had to have him fucking howl, didn't they?
It's the Darth Vader no all over again.
Literally, I was like, you had something there, and you fucking fuck. Also, then the Flux, sorry, gets put in the passenger. You couldn't do that earlier. And then it's revealed that the full Flux, the real Flux, the proper Flux, didn't end up happening. But we had some other Fluxes which fluxed up the... Fuck me.
So
what is
essentially
this?
the Flux just got absorbed by Kirby, and also, like, I was sure they were going to have some kind of universe reset or something, but the universe is gone.
There are lines that imply that Swarm was reversing it backwards and forwards to fuck with the Doctor, and that maybe in a reversed state, that's how he left it.
Right.
But they kind of gloss over it. Like, it's really hard to tell.
That feels like something that you'd maybe want to address, because the universe is a pretty important thing.
That's another thing, is the Doctor's attitude at the end is just like, oh yeah, come on, Dan, let's go see some sights, let's explore the universe like we do in every season.
Go and check if the universe is okay. Like,
I feel like her whole thing should be like, come on, Dan, we got some cleaning up to do. We got to fix this universe or something.
Exactly.
Like, no, it's just it is whatever it is, and then the next episode is probably not going to address it. But here's the point where I genuinely got angry with the episode. Like, genuinely was getting a bit frustrated now. The Doctor gets the fob watch which has her memories in it.
Oh.
So, since episode 3, she's been all like, I want to know what my past is. And we've had little teases and inklings and stuff. It's like, oh, they're finally going to reveal it. She puts it in the TARDIS console and is like, I never want to see that again. Unless I absolutely have to. So, in The Timeless Children, the Doctor finds out that she's got some memories that she's never accessed before.
Yeah.
And he's like, ultimately, I'm better off if I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They then dig it back up for Series 13. Only to resolve it with, I'm better off if I don't know again? It's literally a repeat over the course of 6 episodes of what they did in the previous season in one finale.
That's what I'm saying. The Timeless Child plot has not been expanded upon. Like, what
was the fucking point? And that's the problem. This whole season has been things desperate for importance in the greater picture. Different elements, different characters fighting it out to be the next big mystery, and absolutely none of it whatsoever has any rhyme or reason at all.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Tecteo know that the Flux is a man-made construct? Who made it? Was it Swarm and Azure? It's not quite clear. We know they're releasing it, but like, so why does Tecteo know about this?
I don't know.
It's just stuff is just happening with absolutely no rhyme or reason whatsoever. And the more we've explained it, the more we've gone through it, I'm gonna say this: I thought Series 12 was better. Like, because at least there was some rhyme and reason for what was actually going on. At least it amounted to something. The Timeless Children does some stuff I disagree with, and it is quite a plodding fucking exposition dump of an episode, but at least it goes somewhere. The exposition actually went somewhere. We actually learned something new about the Doctor. This tries to be a sequel to that, but it tells us absolutely nothing we didn't already know, and the overall outcome is business as usual, just the long way round.
And again, going back to something we were saying earlier about introducing such an important new piece of information to the show, being the Doctor's new origin story, you'd think that's something that should be treated as something that's important. But the show is just like, oh no, we'll just put away this piece of information for later on. It's shameless. It's just shameless writing.
It's absolutely absurd that there's so many new ideas in this series and not a single one got developed. And I don't know if they're going to pay that off in the specials, but the specials aren't called Doctor Who Flux. This was referred to as the final chapter. Nothing.
I'm not expecting much payoff because, look, the next episode is Eve of the Daleks, and it's probably going to be very much a standalone basic Dalek story. And how many specials are we getting? Is it 2 or 3 more afterwards?
I think there's 2 specials.
That is just not enough time.
So basically, assuming that Eve of the Daleks is a standalone thing, they've got 1 episode, and it's either going to be a standalone story or it's going to wrap all of this up. And I'm going to be real. It's too much to do in 1 episode, but if they don't wrap this up, if they don't start defining things, then the Chibnall era is a complete write-off.
I completely agree.
Because it means that it came by, it desperately tried to assert its own importance, and it did nothing.
It's like you said earlier on, it's all ideas with no substance behind it. And
it's not earned. Nothing here
it's
is
not.
earned.
None of it is earned. And honestly, I came into this thinking my feelings towards this series were relatively positive. And despite all we've spoken about, I still think this is my favourite of the Chibnall era, simply because I found it the most entertaining to watch. Like, I cannot be bothered to go back and rewatch season 11 or 12. But series 13, I think there was enough enjoyable content, and also the fact it's short. Like
My question is though, will I ever want to revisit any of this, knowing that it ultimately doesn't lead anywhere?
Well,
like, I guess the Angels one I can get some standalone enjoyment from, as with the Sontaran one. But it's like, Series 12 wasn't exactly devoid of enjoyable episodes. I liked Fugitive of the Jadoon.
Yeah.
I liked Ascension of the Cybermen well enough. I loved Haunting of Villa Diodati. And I think that's the problem, is like, when I fully support that Doctor Who should be in a serialized format and do big stories like this. But the problem that comes with that is you don't have standalone episodes to enjoy.
Yeah.
Because everything has to have some kind of importance to the plot. And it doesn't work.
I thought that with this different style for Series 13, it would give Chibnall an opportunity to write in a way that he's more familiar with a serialized story. But it's just kind of proven to me that no matter what, he's just never really going to understand how to write Doctor Who, I don't think. It's just...
I'd like to think that given more time, he could get there, but it's like, how many more chances are you going to get?
I mean, on one hand, this series, it did show a lot of improvement. There was characters that were actually likable. The villains were written really well. But on the flip side, I forgot to mention this earlier on when we were talking about the Angel story. There was one scene from that story that I really didn't like, and that's when the Doctor is on the beach talking with the Angel, because it's just such an obvious exposition dump. She's just spewing the script at the audience, and it feels so unnatural.
The exposition dumps are thick and fast in this. Like,
they are. They really are.
I
guess that kind of brings us to the end of the series then.
So, summing up just your overall little thoughts, just what would you say? What do you think?
I think it's Chibnall's strongest season, in my opinion. but unfortunately, it still hasn't been able to make me connect more with the Doctor or Yaz. I enjoyed some of the new characters that were introduced. I enjoyed, once again, Chibnall continues to write really well for returning villains like the Weeping Angels, the Sontarans for the most part, and, some other characters as well. But I feel like, once again, there's just been... He's promised to deliver on interesting concepts and just fallen flat at the end, basically. And I feel like... fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times. I'm not expecting the specials to change my mind on how I feel about Chibnall's era. I feel like this kind of cements that this era has just not been for me, and I'll be happily...
It feels like it's too late now,
It is a bit too late for me, so I'm kind of happy to just leave this behind going forwards with Doctor Who. But hey, look, I also know that this era has brought back Doctor Who fans because they've enjoyed Jodie, they've enjoyed the companions, the monsters. It's just this series this era of the show just isn't for me. That doesn't make it objectively bad. I just haven't personally enjoyed it. That's all.
Yeah, I guess if you ask me what I think of Flux, I would have been a bit more generous a couple of hours ago, I think. But now after digesting it and regurgitating it, what a fluxing disaster.
So is that the secret to enjoying the Chibnall era? Just don't think about it too much.
The secret to enjoying the Chibnall era is a really tricky one. Basically, up until the finale, invest in everything. Dive headfirst into those mysteries. But then when you get to the finale, quickly disengage.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a shame. The series, it had a lot of promise, but I still had some enjoyment.
I had some enjoyment, but in a very superficial sense.
Yeah.
In the sense of I'm looking forward to what's happening next, and then nothing happened next. The anticipation was fun, the hype was fun, but when all is said and done, it's non-existent as far as I'm concerned. It's a wafer-thin chapter of Doctor Who.
I mean, I am thankful that it was able to recapture the feeling of making me feel like I wanted to tune in every week. Like we were saying,
I liked the hype.
We were saying earlier on that we haven't really done that since Series 8. So it's been a good couple of years since I felt like an urgency to watch the latest Doctor Who, but every Sunday night I was like, great, new episode of Doctor Who, and that was nice. So, but yeah, going forwards, I am obviously very excited for Eve of the Daleks, just because it's a Dalek story, and Chibnall has a good track record of writing Daleks, and yeah, after that, I guess it's just let's see what happens.
My I guess one thing I was a little nervous about that I can kind of put to bed now is I was kind of worried that it's okay, Russell T Davies is coming back, and that's awesome. But what if Chris Chibnall pulled a rabbit out of a hat and proved his worth and proved that he's got amazing ideas which are sadly going to get trimmed off? That's the thing is, I expect, Russell T Davies is going to trim off a lot of the fat from the Chibnall era.
Yeah.
But what if he were to trim off some meat with it? And after Series 13, I'm convinced that there is no meat to trim off. It's all fat. So
yeah,
I'm now just bring on RTD2.
I had the exact same feeling. I was worried that Chibnall, out of spite, was going to write an absolute banger of a final series. But after watching
it looked like he might. It looked like he genuinely might, and then he just didn't.
Yeah, I guess look at us, guilty RTD fanboys, but. The thing is, people are saying, "Oh, it won't be the same," and or maybe he won't write as good.
And it shouldn't be.
And exactly, but I'm not being funny. Even Russell's worst writing was better than what we've had for the Chibnall era. So,
I mean, put it this way. Also, when people say maybe he's not as good, I think he's only developed better over time. If you look at things like Years and Years and It's a Sin.
Oh wow, yeah, brilliant.
He's an incredible writer. It doesn't mean he's perfect. There are still a few things that I disagree with even in like It's a Sin, I haven't probably seen years and years, but I've seen It's a Sin, and
Yeah.
there are a few moments where I think, okay, there are some things I could say about characterization here and there, but like, still, like, I think, you know, he's a very good writer who's very cutting edge. He's got his finger on the pulse of what the industry needs, and I bet absolutely that Russell T Davis's return will be a completely different era to what his original was. I don't think it's going to be a reprisal.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a greatest hits compilation. I think it's going to feel like we've got a new showrunner.
That's kind of what I want. And but
Agreed.
And there is one thing that Russell has always done well, and I think he's only improved as time's gone on, and that's just writing characters. Like, I'm not being funny. I can't wait to connect with characters again. It's so sad that I have to say that, but these, you know, the Doctor and her companions have just been so just like NPCs, you know, just like nothing to... But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing characters I can latch onto and care about, and hopefully a Doctor that I just kind of connect more with as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I guess that concludes our review / discussion.
Yeah. Anything your audience can expect from the future?
No.
Okay.